for that, Garrett and Joe Har, for just leading us. And I'm not sure if everyone here knows, but we're in the last day of May, which also means that it is the last day of Mental Health Awareness Month. And so very fitting that we have a music therapist that's going to be sharing with us tonight at our mental health workshop. And so let me introduce him. He's been a friend for a number of years. We worked together and worshiped at the same church and even served on a worship team together. And so Len Plick is self-taught in terms of his music at a very young age. Eventually, he got his degree in music at Pitzer College, and so that was his formal music training there. Later, he got his music therapy degree, I believe at Chapman, right? And then in 1998, that is when he was licensed as a music therapist. He's worked with children. He's also worked with older adults. And his, music therapy was just a way to bring encouragement to folks, empowerment, creativity, just give them space that I think was very much needed. And it's kind of crazy now because it seems like, mental health and then therapy is really the buzz, but I feel like that's only been in recent years. And so Len has been doing this for a number of years, and I'm glad that he gets to share with us. And so we're going to do a Q&A kind of interview style in terms of just hearing about Len's journey, what he does, and he's also going to share a little bit of what he offers in terms of music therapy to us tonight. And so you're getting it at a discount tonight, so enjoy. But we'll welcome up Len Plick. He's going to join me behind this table over here. And so let's give him a warm welcome.
Telling my age here. You got a computer, I got paper.
Yes, yeah.
I'm still using paper, y'all.
You still do that?
I still use paper.
Just kidding.
It's okay. Some of us still use papyrus. Just kidding. So Len, first question I wanted to ask you is, can you share a little introduction about yourself, maybe what inspired you to become a music therapist, and what did your journey look like to become one?
You got it pretty well. You summed it up pretty well. But my journey is a little embarrassing, actually. It's a little embarrassing. Tim did well on summing it up for me. But the beginning is a little embarrassing. I say that because my heart was set for the music industry. So I was in a group, R&B group, kind of pop group, pre-Boyz II Men, like Boyz II Men time. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yeah. So it was pre-NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, just like a little bit before them. So we were, the industry was a little bit different than it is now. So we had to try to get signed, and so I was working and trying to do that. And that was where my passion was at. So I was a singer-songwriter, self-taught, thought that I could do that, had these big dreams, of doing that. And the music business and the music industry it's the music industry. I just put it that way. I'll say it nicely. And so it's rough. And so I was thinking, I stumbled onto this in college, like when I was around 19 or 20. And I saw this music therapy thing. I was like, oh, what's that? The music business is kind of crazy. So what's this thing here? And so I figured, I'm like, oh, let me give this a shot. Or at least let me just look into it. And so that's where I found music therapy. So that you would probably ask me, like, well, so what's the embarrassing part? Well, the embarrassing part of the story is my dad's a music therapist. He's been a music therapist for over 50 plus years. So one would think that I should know that. So yeah, I love my dad. We talk. Everybody's like, "What? You didn't talk to him? What happened?" So I didn't know what he was doing when I was in grade school and high school. He went to Kaiser. He went to Kedron. He got up at 5:30 in the morning and just went to work. And I didn't know. that's how passionate I was about the music industry. So I didn't know what he was doing, and so I went home and I was like, hey, you know, I found this this thing that I'm interested in. So you can imagine there, I was like, it's music therapy, and you know, my parents looked at me like, really? You do know that's what he's been doing for like 40 plus years. So from that point on, he, you know, and I appreciate that because he let me really kind of find my journey. And when I was interested in it, then he definitely supported me in it. And the ironic and the crazy thing about this is that when I went to Chapman and I did the interview there to get into the program, and I already told him that I graduated with a BA in music and everything. So she was saying, well, all you have to do is like 2 years to get, you don't have to do the whole 4-year program. So 2 years and then get your hours and stuff. And I was like, okay. And she looked at my name. She's like, Leonard Plick. Do you know a George Plick? Which is my dad. And this is like, this woman was Kay Roscom. She was the like original like music therapist back in the 50s. Like she was one of the ones who started. Like my dad in the 60s was in New Orleans. And so he found music therapy at Xavier. He graduated from Xavier College and then went to, it moved from, before I was even a thought, my family moved from New Orleans to California, LA area, or Montclair, I should say. And he found Dr. Roscom. He found Kay Roscom, the same woman who then became my director. So she knew him back in the 60s, before I was even a thought. So she's like, there's no way, Plick sounds familiar, but it's such a unique name. There's no way you know George Plick. And I was like, well, that's my dad. She's like, you know, and from that point on, I became kind of like famous because I was a second generation music therapist. And so all that to say, every time I say, if I start off by saying, you know, my dad's a music therapist, everyone without a doubt was like, oh, that's why you became a music therapist. You know, your dad's a music therapist. That's why you, but it's a whole different, you know, and so I'm a little embarrassed by telling you, I wish I could just, you know, I'm older now, so I just tell you how it is. You know, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't know my dad was a music therapist. But before I used to say, oh yeah, my dad's a music therapist. And that's why he became, sure, that's why I became. But that's where my journey began, you know. Again, at Chapman, and, you know, had much support from my father, who worked at Kaiser Mental Hospital, older adults, 18 and up. And really kind of learned through that early before I even took the program. And so, and then went to Chapman, and that's where it began.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Len.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad's a pastor, and look where I am now.
There you go. There you go. I know.
Sometimes it's not up to us to challenge the faiths.
It's what we've been doing. I know. It's all right.
Yeah. It's in our genes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the next question I wanted to ask, you know, since you've had 25 years of experience, how have you seen music therapy benefit mental health? So just to give you a little bit of context here, we've had different therapists come here sharing about, you know, depression, anxiety. We've even had a dietitian come to talk about how our diet affects our mental health. But this is a little bit new for us, and so we'd just be curious, you know, how have you seen it benefit mental health? What are some common techniques or approaches? Maybe even what does it look like to tailor it to an individual? Yeah.
So I can put it in like a category. I was thinking of this, and you know, I can put it in a category of like four different types of 4 categories. Now, without any order, all are important, but in my 28 years, I've seen agitation, patients who are agitated, combative, you know, that fits into their delusional, paranoid, striking out, you know. Second category would be depression, suicidal, ideations. The third would be confusion, dementia, you know, Alzheimer's, and then also like anxiety, like restlessness, bipolar. And so within these, and again, they're layered, each one is layered. But within these different categories, as a music therapist, you try to meet the needs of the patient. So I would try to first meet the patient where they're at. So it's not really about music, it's about the true connection, making a connection with the person. And so using music to either distract or which is kind of weird, or to gain their attention. So I'm distracting them from the behavior, I'm distracting them from what they're dealing with, and I'm trying to gain their attention to focus on something that's positive. You know? And so just sound itself, sometimes just sound itself, just sound bowls, I don't know if you're familiar with that. Sound bowls, using just, I would say, sound bowls is a good one. I should have brought my little sound bowl. It's hard to describe. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So a funny thing is, a month ago I went on a retreat to a Benedictine kind of like monastery and stuff.
Yeah.
And usually there's bells that kind of like chime, but the person actually cueing us every time we go for prayers use a sound bowl, and so you just see like.
That's what they are. Yeah.
It's like a ball, right?
Yeah, and it just creates these waves, and research shows that it does affect, there's a calming even within like your system, like blood flow and all of these things, and I'm still doing research on it, but researchers have found that, so it's very common practice from music therapists. They use drumming. So I'm just thinking of sound itself. I'm more of a person who uses more melodies and keyboard, electronics, or piano. So I use melodies that people are familiar with, or melodies, I'll just improvise melodies to kind of gain their attention. Another thing that I've used is lyrics that people are familiar with. The generation, or the folks that I'm working with now are 55 and up. Beatles is a huge, the Beatles, they love the Beatles. So using lyrics that they're familiar with, and then lastly is songwriting, having them contribute their lyrics. Now, they get afraid and they get intimidated by that, but I just ask them how they're doing. And so then I'll just start writing down their expression, just self-expression, and then formulate that into a song, and I'll show you how that worked a little bit later. But so just kind of tailor it to those 4 categories, because no matter where I've been, it's always kind of within those categories. So I'm just trying to meet the patient where they're or the person where they're at first, and then try to create music that would that interests them.
Yeah.
So.
And I think just speaking from our experience, speaking from what we've been learning, we have seen that it's like it kind of runs a gamut between bipolar, anxiety, depression, all of that.
All of it. And at the hospital I'm working right now is combative behavior and dementia, Alzheimer's. They are combative because they're dealing with not knowing where they're at. They get scared, they get confused. You have nurses saying, "Karen, come this way, come this way." They don't know, they're just getting pulled. They don't know where they're at. Where's my family? Where's my mother? Where's my father? And so they start to fight, and they start to, interesting enough is I'll start playing "Let Me Call You Sweetheart," and they'll start singing the song. They'll know the words without even knowing their name. So it's, and so it presents a very calming atmosphere for them. The doctors appreciate it because they're like, "Good, yeah, you play, and I'll go work on their medication." So it's the combination of medicine and music has really benefited a lot of patients.
So one thing that came to mind as you're just sharing about being able to offer this to dementia patients. I'm not sure if you or other people in the audience have seen the movie Coco. Have you? Okay.
Yes. That's a really good example.
One of the characters, Grandma Coco, she is slowly losing her memory, and then at the very end, Miguel, the main character, starts playing the song, and it's called "Remember Me" or "Recuérdame." And I'll say that, like, just me being Tim watching it, tears were flowing down.
Yeah.
But you see that for her, it triggers memory. It unlocks different things so that she's able to remember her family. She's able to remember her past, and it kind of unlocks this whole world that was about to kind of disappear. But yeah, that was something that struck me as you're talking about.
Other music therapists, we talked and we were just like cheering because that was like ideal for for an ideal scenario for music therapy, or ideal portrait of music therapy. It was perfect. Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask if you could share maybe a memorable experience that where you saw music therapy, have an impact on a client's life. And we understand HIPAA that there's certain things that you can't talk about, but I think getting a little bit of a picture of what that looks like.
Yeah, I chose. Speaking of HIPAA, one that I could talk about openly, and because she posted it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I could show you the video, but you're welcome to look it up because it was posted, and this was in 2000 and what was this 11 or 12? So it's been 2014. Sorry, yeah. So it's been a while. It's been a while, 10 years. So such a fascinating story. So this woman came into the unit that I was working at San Gabriel, and she was dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts, and just to make it shorter, I was doing my regular music groups and inviting them in. I had a list. They can choose a song from the list, or they can just give me a song that they like, and then I will attempt to play it. And I was doing this, and then finally I decided to do a songwriting kind of group. And I just said, if there's anybody who writes poetry, or if there's anybody who wants to share any lyrics, or if there's anybody who wants to just express how they feel, write it down, journal it, because I have them do journaling as well. Journal it in the books that I gave you, and then bring it to me, and I'll try to put music to it. You don't have to even do anything. We don't have to call it writing a song. You can just express how you're feeling, and I'll work on it within the next couple of days. And let me footnote that within these hospitals, these locked units, their stay is about 7 to 14 days. So she was there for a few weeks, maybe even more. But anyway, she this particular patient, she wrote a whole poem, which I wasn't expecting. It was a page long, and I was like, whoa. So I'm like, that's really good. It was more of a prayer. And I was like, okay, this is great. And she's like, yeah, she's probably in her 70s, she's probably 70 something, I don't know. But she did it, and she wrote it, and I was really impressed. I was really thankful. I'm like, okay, and I told her, I'm like, I'm not going to change a single word. I'm just going to put music to everything that you wrote down. I won't even change a word to try to make it rhyme or anything. And she wrote it kind of like in poem form, so it already rhymed and everything. So, and I was like, Gloria, you've done this before. So she's like, yeah, I like writing poems. So she's like, I'm glad you offered. So I put the poem to music. The following day, we sang it for the group. I asked her for permission to sing it for the group. Other members in the group were really touched by it. She saw that. I wanted to point that out to her. Like, you're now reaching other folks through your song, through your music, through your words. And so she said, I would love if my niece, my grandniece, could sing this in her church when I'm discharged from the hospital. And I said, sure. So I was still working with a producer. I still had some sort of connections in the music industry where I said, you know what, do you mind if I just lay like an instrumental track for, I said, a friend of mine, so that she could sing it in church. It'll be really quick. So it took like literally about 10, 15 minutes. And I just said, yeah, I just want to lay this track so that she can, so I did like a rough vocal and a rough instrumental. And I gave it to her. And I said, well, here you go, Gloria. I hope this helps. I'm so thankful that you're going to share your poem in church. And I'm really glad that, and she was feeling a lot better. And so she was discharged. I never heard, a few weeks had passed. And then I got, a phone call from the hospital. She called the hospital. And she's like, great news. It's like, oh, yeah, is she singing in church? She's like, no. It's like, your niece didn't sing in church. She's like, no. I'm like, oh, what happened? What's the news? She's like, well, I posted it on YouTube. It's like, oh, wait, you posted your niece singing on YouTube? She's like, no, I posted you. Your song, the song that you sang for me. I was like, well, you posted the scratch tape. I was like, so I had to get over. I was like, great. You posted that on YouTube. Lovely. I am so happy about that. So she's like, yeah, it had like over 300 views, or and it kept growing. And she's like, yeah, people from my family's family, and then like folks from Mexico, and it just started spreading. And I was like, oh, wow. So I was like, okay. I thought your niece was gonna sing. I kept asking. I didn't know that you were gonna. Okay. And so she found a new calling or whatever, new motivation, and re-energized her. I don't know, the Holy Spirit. It was all the grace of God. Anyway, she began to have like a YouTube channel and began to like minister to folks.
Oh, wow.
Through this poetry, through poetry. And so, fortunately and unfortunately, my voice is still there, but you're welcome to. I wish I could share that with you right now. It's on there, and I checked, and this is what I want.
How does it call? How does it call?
It's the it is called Never Alone by Gloria Never Alone.
Never alone.
Never Alone by Gloria Sandoval Aragon. And I no longer have to worry about him because it's open for the public. So if you're interested, I can show you exactly where it's at. But it's called Never Alone.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing through the hospital, we ended up doing one more. She sent it to me, and so now there's 2 songs on there. And so it was a great testament to seeing how somebody who was at such a low point turned it around and was able to use her testimony to help other people.
Yeah.
And she really did like a 180. It was really like a 180. And I don't know how else to describe it. It was her family truly appreciated it, and she continued to get hits. I don't know. I haven't spoken with her since 2014, so I don't know where she is.
What's her last name?
Sandoval.
Oh, okay.
Gloria Sandoval.
Okay.
Found it?
Almost.
Yeah. And then, how do you pronounce it?
Oh, Arrogante. Yeah. Gloria Sandoval Arrogante.
Yeah. Never Alone. And so, yeah, that is one of that ended up touching my life. It really changed my life as well. So to see that, something that stands out to me. I mean, especially since there is, I can show receipts. I have receipts for it.
Yes.
So a lot of other stories, they're there, but it's kind of hard to remember. So
Yeah.
That's one that really stands out to me. Because she was able to share her experiences, didn't give up. She was able to share experiences with other people, and it really that really motivated her. Gave her a new, showed her that her life mattered, and she was letting other people know that their life mattered too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's amazing, and seeing that 180, it's seeing the power of the gospel at work. That when you're at your lowest point, when it feels like there's nothing that you can do, somehow God's able to transform it and empower you, empower others, touch others in just so many different ways. And, it's not like you're outright saying, this is the gospel, but...
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, thanks for letting me share that. That's great story.
Yeah.
Wherever she's at, God bless her, and and her family, so.
Yeah. That's awesome. And when you're sharing about just the types of people that you see, that it can have a full range. I know that within this community here, we have people, friends, loved ones, struggling with anxiety, struggling with depression. struggling with dementia. And I know that we can't force anyone to do anything, but I think there's also a longing for them to get the help that they need.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for someone maybe who might be considering music therapy for themselves, for a loved one? What advice would you have for them to kind of help them along?
It's a good question. I was thinking about this. It's interesting that you don't have to have extreme mental or emotional challenges to look into music therapy. I think we have music therapy every day. I think in this world today, something broke. I always say that has made folks more aware, because the mental health of our world today has declined, I believe. And I think we've just become more aware of music therapy because of our need for internal peace and peace of mind and rest. But I don't think you have to be. I think if you're just, let me say it this way: if you can become more aware of your surroundings, more aware of your environment, you can have music therapy every day as a part of your life. Let me say, and then I'll say the more formal thing, but the informal music therapy is like we have music everywhere we go. We just did music before in this service. We have music in the car, music in iPad. Nowadays you can have social media has really skyrocketed that. You don't have to go to the record stores anymore, Tower Records or any of that. You have music in the gym, music, wedding ceremonies, memorial ceremony. Every single where, and silence. Sometimes if you just along the beach or in a park or in a parking lot, it doesn't matter. If you're just silent, you'll realize that it's not silent. Let me say that again. If you're silent, you'll realize that there's a lot of sounds going, the birds, the wind, the trees. I incorporate that all as music therapy. The first music therapy that we heard was the beat of your mother's heart while you were in the womb, before you were even born. That's music therapy as well. It's like, so music therapists use sounds and use all sorts. And again, I have to reiterate the silence part. So just informally, I think if we become more aware of that, I think you can really just kind of incorporate music therapy as part of your daily life. The more formal part is, I would say, you looking into hospital. It's kind of the basics. A lot of music therapists now at private practice, you Google it. The web is full of it now. So it's becoming more of a known profession than when my dad in the 60s, and I mentioned Dr. Roscom, they had to really make the profession, they had to struggle because physical therapy, occupational therapy were well known. Even today, it's kind of more popular than the music therapy because it's music therapists more of a holistic approach, or it's not. It's starting to get the recognition, though. It is starting to become more and more recognized, especially in this time and that we're living in. But if you could just Google it, you can see the different avenues and even genres you want to take to journey into music therapy. But like I said, you can do music therapy on your own, simply just in the car or in wherever you go. It's just a matter of becoming more aware of the sounds around you, more aware of, and I can say this, I'm not in the hospital, the grace of God that is in you, you can just become more aware of that and just kind of sit in silence. And that in itself is music therapy, because you're going to you're gonna hear birds. And even that is music therapy, because they're singing. You know, they're singing to you. They're singing. They're really glorifying God. They're doing what they're supposed to do. But that's they're singing for us. You know, and it's all for the glory of God. I mean, the earth is rotating. We can't hear it, but man, it's making sound. There's sound all around us. We just don't. It's just a matter of becoming more aware of it.
Yeah.
And so, and then like, again, like you can create music, and I also suggest poetry, just journaling, journaling, writing journals. So there's different avenues that you can take without going formally into music therapy. But if you want to go formally into music therapy, I would just suggest either just Googling it, you know, and then you can just easily see the avenues that you want to take, you know.
Yeah.
Just practical. Yeah, just a practical. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry if this is a dumb question or something.
No.
But if someone were to want to become a music therapist, one, do they need any musical background or competency in order to do that?
Well, first ask your dad if they're a music therapist.
Might surprise you.
Our grandfather, yeah, no, you know, I did have a BA in music that helped, but you will discover if you were interested in this, it is a lot more psychology, you know, and it's going to be a combined. You know, you're going to parallel that role with music and psychology, and it does parallel. But yeah, music is a huge part of it. It is a huge part of it, just as important as the psychology part of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's a 4-year program. You know, 4-year program. And then I got board certified, and so board certification just means that you're now. I fit in the Title 22. I fit in the title with occupational therapist, recreational therapist, a dance therapist. Physical therapy, so I fit in that genre now. So fortunately, music therapy has been recognized to now fit into that title. So yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I did ask Len to do is if he could share a bit of what he does for music therapy with us, the musical side of that. But before we do that, we just want to see, are there any questions in the audience that you'd like to ask Len while we have him? It was really great to kind of hear his journey, hear some of his stories, but want to open it up to the audience. Just are there any questions that you would want to ask Len?
Thanks.
Yeah, Carol.
I just wondered, do you primarily work with groups in the hospital, or do you do one-on-one
Both.
occasionally? You do
I
both.
do both. Yeah, and within the hospital setting. Yeah. There's some folks who don't want to go to group. Yeah, so they'll stay in their room, and I will go. I don't have an opportunity at the hospital I'm at now to bring. I play a little guitar, not a lot, but to bring my guitar in there and just kind of use sound and sing. I have done that at other hospitals, but the hospital that I'm at now, the groups are pretty big, and so I will go after that and just kind of have some interaction, one-on-one interactions with them. So it's more of a process group. The one-on-ones are more of a process. Good question. Thanks, Carol. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
Ann?
A comment and a question.
Yeah.
When I was taking care of my mother, she would have sundowners and start getting agitated.
Yeah.
And I could see it coming on, and I would pull out the hymnal.
There you go.
And we would sing and
There you
sing
go.
and sing and sing until she was so tired that she had to go to bed.
I was going to say, did it help?
It worked perfectly.
That's
Didn't get
great.
agitated and didn't get irritated, and it just calmed her down. My next question is, do you encourage your patients to pick up an instrument and play an instrument?
Yes and no. Not at the place that I'm at now, simply because I'm dealing with the agitation part, and in a group setting, I'm not sure. I got to try to keep everybody safe, and the instrument could be used as a weapon. So
Okay.
I have to keep that in mind. In one-on-one settings, when I was able to go to the developmental home, I would definitely encourage them. I would actually have them play along with me. So yeah. It just depends on the setting. Not in the hospital setting.
Yeah,
They're like,
not
oh,
group, but
thank
yeah.
you for this weapon. So, but yeah, that's great with your mother. Yeah, that's great. We do have some sundowners, over there, and so we try to get them right around 4 or 5,
Yeah.
to start getting more. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
get
we
them
try-
singing.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, I didn't think that an acoustic guitar would be used as a weapon any more than WWE and pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But gotta be careful.
Gotta be careful, man. Definitely on the psych unit.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, Johar, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious, are there any problems that music therapy is particularly effective at dealing with or is unique to music therapy?
Are any problems with it? Like,
Yeah, like, would you consider certain mental issues basically as something you can target specifically with?
oh,
music
absolutely.
therapy?
I think in dealing with depression and anxiety, music therapy has been really effective. Now, it has been effective with dementia and Alzheimer's patients as well. Those. So equally effective. I think the hardest, the challenging thing for me is the agitation and the delusional thing. That takes the time. That's a combination with medicine. That takes the time for the medicine to kick in because I've tried to play to someone who's agitated and it works for like maybe a split second and then they're going to flip the table over or something like that. So they have to be excused by the nurses. They have to take them back to the room and give them medicine, But for those who, to answer your question specifically, those with confusion and those with depression, depressed moods, music has definitely uplifted tears to a smile in a moment of just playing a song. But Here Comes the Sun. Just playing Here Comes the Sun, and they'll just start singing along, from crying to just then singing along, forgetting why they were even crying. It lasts a second. It lasts the moment of the song. Once the song is over, they'll snap right back into being tearful. But that moment, you have to take as a miracle. So it's not like nobody's just healed and going out like praising the Lord like back in biblical days. But the type of healing is tears to a smile. That's healing. That's a miracle. Singing while they were crying and then changing that's a miracle. Somebody who is can't remember their name but starts singing a song, remembering the lyrics verbatim, but can't remember their own name or can't remember their spouse's name. Those things are miracles. Like you have to take them as like these small little miracles, these small little things that are happening. Those are like miracles. That's a good question. So I've seen it. I've helped those two specifically. Those two diagnosis, depression and confusion.
Got it. Yeah.
Any other questions? So, a couple questions that I want to ask.
Yeah.
And this is usually typical for our mental health workshops, and maybe your circumstances are a bit different, but are you taking clients or anything like that if people here or people watching were interested in having you as a music therapist? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been looking into that to see how there are some legal things that I have to do to be able to do that. But I'm curious. So it's funny you bring that up. I'm kind of looking into that to see like what would a one-on-one session look like, and when would I do that? How would I do that? What place? I'm looking, but if there is a setup, if it works out, I would definitely be interested in doing that. I haven't stepped into that chapter yet. But I know I'm talking to some other folks who are doing one-on-ones who have been doing that, and just to see what are the steps that you need to take, on how to do this, So I've always just been, for like the last 28 years, just working in hospital settings.
You're gonna start with us tonight then.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Jane.
Is it difficult to select songs that wouldn't be more depressive, to the patient, or that might, if it's too zippy and all, does this agitate them? Do you have certain songs that you found with all your experience that seem to be soothing or uplifting to the patient?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have, by trial and error, learned that some songs work and some songs don't. So now I try to, during their admission, I try to interact with them first, just to see where they're at, and then to ask them directly if there's any kind of music that they like. If they can't answer that, then it is kind of just a hit and miss. Sometimes they have visitors that I'll ask the visitors, I'll ask their family members, so that I can know directly what songs work for them and what songs don't. Sometimes it is, sometimes it is a hit and miss, though. Yeah. That's good. That's good.
I was going to ask something along the same lines. What are your more popular songs that you play? Which ones are from the Beatles?
Like Let It Be. They're always they go for the Let It Be. A lot of them want to dance. A lot of them it's a movement in music kind of exercise where they are. We don't want to talk. Like I when I was working at West Anaheim with the 18 and up, young crowd, they're like, we're not paying you to talk. Sing. So they just sit and they just wanted to move. It was about like, we don't want the voices. We don't want silence. We don't want process groups and interaction. We just want the music to kind of drown out this thing that we're dealing with. And so I would just play up-tempo music, or again, I would ask them, what music do you want to play? Let me think of something. Billy Idol. From the 80s. I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, okay. So I had to. So I can tell you this. So I'll bring a list based on the list that I had the following week, and then I'll just continue to add each new patient. And so if they ask me to play a song and I don't know it, I'll just say I'll add this to the list, and then I can learn. I play by ear, so I can learn and pick it up the following day. So I just bring them back the next day, and so then I would play their song the following day. So that's kind of how that worked. And so I only were able to fit in about at that time about six songs, and so I'd play their songs, and then the next day, I'd write on the board, like, okay, what's the next top six? What's the next top six? And so I would get their songs ready. Now at this point, I'm able to do at least a good 9 songs, and so I will make it'll look like a program. So I will make a program saying like the day's date, because I have to orient them each day. So day's date, now it's gonna be summertime, so we gotta get some summer songs in, and then I'll have them just choose a list for me, and they'll make a list, and then I will just write that list down. The next day, new patients will come in. I will invite them to contribute to the list, and so we kind of go. That routine has been working. So yeah.
Well, Len, enough talking.
That sounds like that.
Let's hear you. Let's see what you can really do. And so let's welcome Len up to do one of his pieces. Enter into the moment. And so the lyrics will be on the screen, but we also printed them out.
Oh,
so,
thanks. Oh, that's great. Thank
you can get set up right now, Len, as I pass this out.
Yeah. Excellent. I didn't know you guys did that.
I'm not sure if there's any more that you'd want to share about this.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. Oh yeah, thank you. Oh, perfect. Thanks. All right. So this song, Party Matter, it goes back to 2010. It's been a while, and this was for I was playing for a group of people who were in support of cancer, folks with cancer who are survivors of cancer and family members who dealt with people who have lost their lives or who are healing from cancer. And so they said, can you come and play for our candlelight vigil? And so they're going to walk around the high school track in Montebello, and they're going to just hold around candles. 2010, I said, yeah, that's fine. And so I was like, before that, I said, I'm inspired to write a song. They said, if you're inspired to write a song, do it. So I was like, okay, it hit me. And so I'm like, okay, I'll write this song. But I just don't know what to say to these folks who, are dealing with cancer, and kids who only have a few weeks to live, or, I'm just like, I don't know what to say. So the Lord kind of put it in my heart to just, to say, the few weeks are the lives, the life that you live mattered. It mattered to the people around you. It mattered to it mattered to your loved ones. It mattered to people that you don't even know. And so I began to write that down and came up with this song. And so they walked around the track and sang this song. And so 2014, 14 years later. So, or 10 years later, 2020, it became You Matter, and this whole, everybody matters, Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. It became like this political thing. And so I just kind of looked back on it and remembered that this originated, I was like, oh yeah, this only meant that the person in front of me mattered. That's why it's called You Matter. And so when I sing it on psych units or when I sing it in the hospital, a lot of the patients have a hard time with this for two reasons. Either they don't believe that they matter, and they don't believe that they matter. They just have a hard time hearing it. So they will walk. A lot of them would walk out on this song at the end. So I always close with this song. They walk, and then gradually they'll stay and it'll begin to turn. But initially, the first couple of times, if they're new, the first couple of times they're out. They're like, we don't want to hear this song. They just have a hard time hearing it. And so, I mean, now when I sing it, I always tell folks, it is a lot easier to say everyone matters because you don't have to deal with everyone. But it is a lot difficult to say to the person in front of you that you matter. So that is the challenge, to let somebody know that you matter. One day at a time, one moment at a time. It's the people who are in front of us, because the people who are on the other side of the world, I'm not going to see, So it's the person that's in front of you. And I always tell them just to take it one day at a time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to even look yourself in the mirror and say, that's the hardest. That's even more challenging. But so this is the closing song that I just actually sang today as well. You Matter. You've been through the battle, you've been through the wars, you don't understand it, what all this fighting is for. You just close your eyes and hope that it goes away, hope that it goes away. You search for your meaning, but doubt clouds your mind. You'll see you mean something in the eyes of the giver of life, but you just close your eyes and hope that you fly away, hope that you fly away. These are just words. You don't have to hear what I say. Hear what I say. Oh, I want you to know you matter. You matter. Oh, I want you to know you matter. You matter. The thought of tomorrow makes doubt fill your mind. You wait for tomorrow, feeling you've been left behind. We just close our eyes, but we can't fly away. So we hope for hope today. But these are just words. It may be hard to hear what I say. Hear what I say. Oh, I want you to know you matter. You matter. Oh, I want you to know you matter. You matter. Yeah. If you must close your eyes to rest from your life's restlessness, remember these words and don't forget. Hear what I say. Hear what I say. Oh, I want you to know you matter. You matter. Oh, I want you to know you matter. We go through the battles, we go through these wars. You may not understand it, but your life's worth fighting for. And if you close your eyes and hope that it goes away, remember these words today. Remember these words today.